Hey, welcome back. Let's do wings in this video. Wing day is one of my favorites. For some reason, it's just one of the funnest parts to add, I guess because it really starts looking like a plane after that. So I'm going to get started by highlighting my YZ plane. We'll create a sketch from the part design menu. Now I can't really see my wings, of course, so I'm going to hide my body. Now let's just assume that there's going to be a number of flat control surfaces here. And I just want to trace around a general wing shape. I'll assume that my wings are horizontal here. And let's add an arc. And let's say that my wing maybe will taper up and I'll have another arc. And I'll just sketch out my general profile here. And then we'll use a merge. That's my own terminology. I think FreeCAD calls this a coincident relation. And then I'm going to select a tangent from up here and make sure that everything is tangent. Now I can begin adding some dimensions or things that I might need to help lock this down and help to edit this. This looks like a pretty good dimension. Now the problem is I want to shrink this up, and so if I try to fix my arc center, then I'll probably have a few problems. So I'm going to be a little bit controversial and dimension this from the arc edge, which certainly isn't standard. I'll highlight this point, and if you need to see what hotkeys I use, I'll bring up my keyboard monitor as well. So you'll be able to see the hotkeys that I use. Oh, and it came up twice. So there it is, stick it right there. I'm going to add a horizontal dimension with Control H, and let's say that 36 is, well, okay, 37 is the dimension that I want. We'll give a radius with Shift R and go with 1 millimeter. That seems like an alright thickness, I guess. And I kind of like that height and the way that it hugs the canopy right there. So Shift V to kind of lock that down vertically. I'll go with A to add an angle. And 5 degrees is pretty good, I think, for our needs. From here, Shift R to give this arc a radius. We'll go with maybe, we can do a huge radius. Let's try 200 millimeters. That makes for a nice gradual curve. I think that's about perfect. I'll bring that down. Give that a height there. 8.25, how about? And then back here. Right, how do we want to taper our wing down? And of course, how far back does it go? To find out, I want to exit real quick, take a top view of this. And it looks like our wings are about as far back as we need to be, so that's good. Let me get back to my sketch by double clicking. I'm going to say A for angle. And again, I think a 5-degree angle is pretty good. Maybe I'll make the front and back be equal. So highlight these two and hit the E key for equal. And now with a defined arc there, that'd be pretty comfortable. And setting a horizontal lock there with Control H. I'm only down to, I think, 1 degree of freedom, and I did not mean to exit there. In fact, I might as well show you if you do accidentally exit with the escape key in a sketch. And if we come on down here to the sketcher, we have an option, escape can leave sketch edit mode, and I'm going to uncheck that And my probably famous habit now of getting out of sketches accidentally when I push escape is now resolved, thanks to the awesome FreeCAD developers. So I think we're only down to 1 or 2 degrees of freedom here. Yep, it looks like just this arc. So again, this isn't really a wing that's meant to fly. This is just how to sketch from an image. If I try a 500 millimeter radius, that's kind of cool, right? So I have a nice kind of gradual sloping wing. Now, thinking ahead, I want to actually change this to a construction arc, as well as this down here. I want to take the highest point, which I'm sure that this is fine, and the lowest point, which I'm sure this is fine because these two lines are horizontal. And I'm going to redo 2 additional arcs here. And it looks like I have a redundant constraint, so we'll go down to constraint 11. And now here. I'm going to choose my equal relation here to here. It looks like undoing that over constraint now has left us under constrained. And for some reason we're under constrained here. So if I re-add my tangent relation, and it's still here, right? So I will lock it down with Control H. And now I'll go between these two at a horizontal relation with the H key and do the same thing. We'll go equal. And that buys us having a hard point in our sketch that we can reference off of from another sketch very easily. So that should be everything I need for that wing profile. We'll close that. And now I'd like to go make an appeal to my curved shapes workbench. Before I forget to mention this, if you do not have curved shapes, I do have a video on using the add-on manager if your add-on manager is not working. The simplest solution is to update your version of FreeCAD. And I'm not running with the most updated version of 019, so if your add-on manager looks like this with only one workbench, then I have a video that can help you add in the curved shapes workbench. Otherwise, just add it in with the add-on manager if you don't already have it. So we're going to be using the add-on manager, and first I'm going to sketch on my XY plane before I actually go to that workbench and finish off the profile of my wing. Now, as you can see, I just made 2 arcs, and now I have this little point out here that I can import. I find that very valuable to be able to do that here and here, right? So now I can make a sketch that defines where I want my edges of my wing to be. So I'll reset my view here, and I'm going to grab a spline. Let's go with this spline. One of the very convenient parts of FreeCAD is this sort of style of spline that you have. Right, we'll come out here, and I think I can probably end right at that edge in the picture. Right there. Now I should have a pretty smooth spline that I can adjust my points to make sure that they match well. That looks like I'm holding to the wing surprisingly well. Usually my splines need a little bit more adjustment than that. So I'll just adjust this right about there. And even though it's kind of funky, what it's doing is inside the body. We just want this line to map out really well the profile of our wing. And I'm going to do the same for the back profile. I'll also use a B-spline, but this is a lot more of a simple profile. So we'll take this out to here. And I'm going to add a vertical constraint between these two endpoints. And then I'll move this back to the edge that I wish. And that should be good. Now we have a definition for the front and the rear of our wing. I'll close that. Let's go to the front view now. And the XZ plane is a fine place to sketch. When using the Curve Shakes workbench, you want to have all of your sketches parallel to these planes. Right? You can't have like a plane at 10 degrees and have the exact result that you want. It's just not how it works. Let's import the topmost point to our sketch here, and the bottommost point. So I got the top and bottom imported in my sketch. We'll reset the view head on. And I'm going to be back to trying to trace this wing here. And we'll go there. Let's go to my top now. Just trying to trace this out with a B-spline. Now I'm going to take this past where our wing ends, because our other sketch that I have right on that edge is going to determine where the wing ends. So I just need to make sure that this sketch fills the whole distance. And we should have accomplished that. Yep, we are going out further than our other sketch, so we'll close that. So now it's time to actually make the wing, and that is the most simple part. We'll go to Curve Shapes. Now in order, I want to choose my profile, right? I have to choose this sketch first, and then I'm going to hold down Control and choose the other two sketches in any order. And then I choose this very first option, creates an array and resizes items in the bounds of the curves. And now I have these little wires here. And if I highlight my curved array in my combo view, I can come down here and I can choose True for solid. Now as I look at this, even from the top view, I'd say that this wing doesn't match the profile at all. Right, now I have a whole video on the Curved Surfaces workbench if you'd like to get more familiar with this workbench. But for now, I'll just grab my curved array, and we want to go with the items here. We're going to say 50 items or so. I mean, 50 has always been the magic number for me. And now that looks a lot more like the profile that we have. Much better. And it's a solid. So if I highlight my mirrored in the tree and hit the space bar, you can see that we now have wings. Let's do a mirror now. Going back to, in fact, part design is not really a good option, so I'm going to go to part. We'll choose mirror. That should be mirror there. And choose curved array, and I want my YZ plane. I'll say OK. And there we have it, right? There's our wings. The next thing that I'd like to do is add some detail right here of something that might hold a missile on the outside of the wing. So let's go back to part design. And I'm going to grab my datum plane. From here, in fact, I'll actually highlight the plane that I want to be parallel to. In this case, the YZ plane. Grab our datum plane. And I want to come out to this point right where the wing ends, right? And that's a good reference. So we're going to say OK. I have a video about how you might have some trouble between working in part design and how stuff in part design may not mesh with other stuff that were made in other workbenches. So check that out if you have any questions as to my motives on doing this. Now I have this awesome plane that references exactly what I want. So I'm going to create a sketch on it. And I'm going to immediately hide my datum plane so it doesn't take up my graphics display area. And let's also, we've got a good map, right? I like looking from the outside this way, so I'll leave that. I simply want to have something that matches this profile. To see a little bit more clearly, I'll add in a rectangle here. And I'm going to highlight this point and this point, Control H. Let's go with something like a 1 millimeter dimension horizontally. And I'm going to change my view to the top. Of course, when my view is perpendicular to my sketch plane, I can't highlight or move anything, so I'm going to move this way just a bit so I can modify my stuff again. I'll give this line a horizontal dimension. And 30 is a nice round number, why not? Now I need to get normal to my plane again and figure out what heights that I wish to have. So I'll drag this guy here. Well, that really is a pretty high up there. Now let's go to the front plane. And those points actually line up just about perfect. So I'll highlight a point, or Shift V, and just leave it as is. Now give this a length, Shift V here. Let's do an extrude. I guess I could just exit my sketch, which is even better. And we'll do an extrude over here. So I'll highlight my sketch, extrude. All right, so now we have a nice sketch, but there's a problem with the part design aspect of this, right? If I highlight my sketch and I choose to extrude, and notice I don't have a preview, and if I click OK, result has multiple solids. This is not supported at this time. So why did I make this in part design and not just part? And the reason being, if I update any of these sketches, which were made in part design, this will update with it also. It keeps for a nice link. So I'm going to head to the part workbench and extrude this instead. We'll go from the top. And I'm going to guess that I'm about 2.5 millimeters. Oh, and of course I have to select my sketch, which should be sketch 17. And I think we're kind of close. Maybe we're down to 2 millimeters. I can always adjust this in my tree here. Under data, I'll change this from 2.5 to 2. That looks about right. I can now select this face, and since we're kind of running out in the part workbench now, I'll just choose, I'm going to choose this face. There we go, flat face. And my view isn't quite what I want, so we'll make sure we have sketch 18. We're going to make our map mode, that's good, but our map reverse is true. Now I can see the view that I want, and I can kind of see the cutout that I need to have there. I think that'll look okay, because the rest of my sketches are probably quite undefined as well. I got to resort to some Boolean edits now, so we'll exit our sketch. We'll come on over here to the part workbench again. With this highlighted, I'll do an extrude. 10 millimeters is fine, so we'll apply that. And now I should reverse the direction on this, so we'll come down here and say reversed is true. Now we're going in the right direction. I highlight this first and then my cylinder second. With both of those highlighted, having used the control key, I'm going to make a cut, and that gives me the shape that I want. And fillets can be added on that later on, I'm sure. Oh, we've got a little bit of a graphical problem here. Or is it a graphical problem? I think what I need to do is come back to my cut and find my original extrude here. And I'll say solid is true. It looks like I missed that point when I switched to the part design workbench. So with that, looks like my cut has gone away now. So we'll take a look at this next extrude, and our solid is already true on this one. I'll show it with the space bar. In fact, let me just delete my cut. And yep, my sketch kind of went all bonkers there. I'm going to leave this in. It can help some people to watch troubleshooting. I'm going to close that and redo just a little bit. We're going to make sure that our reversed is now false. And then I'll redo my cut. This first, this second, click on cut, and there we have that edge that we're looking for. Let's do a mirror now from the part workbench. And of course I'll choose my cut feature. That's what I want. And we're going to go across the YZ plane. There we have it. So we've got some nice wings on our F18. I've been at this for a little while now, so I'll call it a day. But I hope that this was helpful. If it was, please subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.